Political developments in Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has nominated Yevheny Khmara as defense minister. Ukraine launching one of its largest attacks on Russia since the war was started by Vladimir Putin in February 2023. Kyiv confirming at least 800 drones aimed at Russian targets overnight. Meanwhile, a Russian strike on Ukraine's Kharkiv region has killed 10 civilians in the village of Pechenyi. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned it as a brutal attack. Let's bring in Emmanuelle Chaze for more. She's joining us live, our correspondent in Kyiv. Emmanuelle, thank you for being with us. Tell us first about the political nominations and the challenges that these would-be ministers will face.
Well, it's been a month in the waiting, and Volodymyr Zelensky gave names to the parliament. He nominated the acting defense minister, Yevheny Khmara, as a potential next defense minister, as well as Andriy Sybiha as potential next foreign affairs minister. Why I'm using potential there? Because, in fact, Volodymyr Zelensky can nominate ministers, but the parliament, which reconvened today for the first time after the summer break, a month-long summer break, will have to decide whether or not to accept those nominations. And it comes, after a month of protests here in Ukraine, with thousands of people around the country, across the country, asking for the return of former defense minister Mykhailo Fedorov. Now, the nomination of Yevheny Khmara, he's a well-respected soldier. He's known as a fine strategist that was, at the helm of a lot of strategic operations during his time as head of Ukrainian intelligence. However, according to the Ukrainian constitution, you cannot be a soldier, you cannot be in the military and a minister as well. This is a first, conditionality. And then the second is that MPs who reconvened today, they've also noticed that a lot of people here in Ukraine showed discontent at the fact that Mykhailo Fedorov was no longer defense minister and would like to see him return. So those 2 points might, tip the balance a little bit at the parliament. So now we have to wait to see what the Rada, the Ukrainian parliament, will decide.
We've heard, Emmanuelle, about the scale of the Ukraine strikes on Russia overnight, but of course, Russia hitting targets in Kharkiv. Tell us about that.
Indeed. So today the news came that 2 Russian missiles struck a village, a place of around 5,000 inhabitants in the Kharkiv region, 5,000 inhabitants prior to the war. This is close to the front line, dozens of kilometers away from the front line. And those 2 missiles, they hit Pechenyi just, a few minutes apart. They hit a cafe, they hit a post office, and they killed at least 10 people. They injured around 20 people more. The authorities have condemned those strikes. They've also, reminded that Russia continues to target civilians. And in fact, last month in July, there were at least 437 civilians who died, hundreds who were injured in similar missile strikes by Russia. This was the highest number we've had here of civilian deaths since the spring of 2022.
Emmanuelle Chaze for now. Thank you very much indeed. The latest there in Ukraine.